Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Let's get right into it. India confirms that Chinese missiles were used by Pakistan in these strikes. Now, when you see headlines like this, you know, why all of the headlines from today and yesterday, exactly why are all of these coming out the way they did? And I'm saying this because almost every day there are groupings of news articles, and you would think, oh, well, because these events happen. There's actual groupings of articles that can really tell you that things are connected, even though they don't say they are directly connected. Like, for instance, this with China and, of course, India and, of course, with Spain talking about their power grid, what they're covering. They're essentially saying that they're suspicious about the Spain power grid going down, and they're doing a probe. Of course, we all know, and of course, because of good info finding by No One Here Yet and Dex, they found that China was the biggest supplier of their renewable energy. And it turns out that renewable energy was the cause of it, was their back doors. All of these stories came out at the exact same time. Of course, India, this entire story, everything that's happening over the last 3 days has been just a humongous story. India and Pakistan are going to war over what started out as an attack that very well could have been a 3-letter agency op. It could have been totally a Fantastic Freddy, and China could have been involved with that as well. There's a general theme for today, and I think you'll see it here in a minute, that China is most definitely pulling strings, and hopefully they don't get better at pulling them than the U.S. does. Again, India has confirmed that Pakistan used Chinese-made missiles during the recent cross-border military strikes. Air Marshal A.K. Bharti, India's Director General Air Operations, said Indian forces had intercepted and neutralized a range of high-tech foreign weapons used by Pakistan, including the Chinese-origin PL-15 long-range air-to-air missiles and the Turkish Bayraktar Yayha kamikaze drones. Again, it says you can see the piece of it on the screen. A.M. Bharti said during a media briefing, pointing to the debris of a PL-15 recovered in a field in Hashurpur, Punjab, bordering Pakistan in northern India. Now, of course, they're going to pop out, say, hey, look at this. This is China. And I think it's almost classic that it's literally on a checkered floor right there. I don't know if it's actually black and white checkered floor, but I mean, it just doesn't get any more crazier than this. Like, honestly, the whole India and Pakistan thing is a massive op, and that's what it looks like to me. But this is an op that could turn into a straight up World War III. Now, they put a pause on this, and again, the U.S. got involved. J.D. Vance actually popped in and said, hey, this is their business. It's none of ours. But we actually got involved because of alarming intelligence. They went to India with this alarming intelligence, and then all of a sudden, India says, ceasefire. So what did they actually tell them? Do they have alarming intelligence that basically, hey, you guys, we found out that China did this. Those guys that did that thing in Kashmir, or somebody else, maybe Pakistan really didn't know, like the defense minister said on his interview, right? Or did they say, hey, this was us, don't make a big deal out of it. We don't want anybody nuking you. We were trying to piss off these people. Who knows? We don't know what the real story is. Or is this China pulling strings because the Made in India program India is putting together to try to put China out of business for manufacturing? Maybe China is going after their competitor. We don't know. But again, there's a lot of different things that are going on. Or is Pakistan and India, they're just truly at the edge and they're at each other's throats? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. There is absolute craziness going on right now. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, and before we get started, I do have some really, really awesome news, which is it's Ailea's 35th birthday. So make sure to say happy birthday to Ailea down in the chat, and don't correct me. And again, Ailea is one of our most awesome mods. She is actually an awesome creator as well. Go check her out on marfooglenews.com/friends. Again, they have, all their own pages over there, so you can find their YouTube, their Brighteons, their TikToks, their Twitters, all of the rest right there. You have a link. Ailea is actually extremely funny. She is a very, very smart woman, and she is an awesome, awesome Foogle family member. So make sure to go check her out over at marfooglenews.com/friends. All right, and then thank you, Miss Dragon, for 24 months. That's funny. Who was that? Billy Jacks Wild America says, Dex, you beat me to 24 months. LOL. Miss Dragon did too, apparently. Happy birthday to Ailea. So she used her 24 month. That's crazy that people are hitting the 2-year badges. That's super awesome. Thank you guys again for joining. I believe we started it, I think, almost exactly 2 years ago. So thank you. All right, let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine. And yeah, I think it just turned maybe a week ago. I've noticed the 24 show up.
Oh, yeah. It's very recent. So, again, that's super, super awesome. Thank you guys for being members. And, again, thank you for supporting Independent. More so, I do want to say thank you to the mods as well. A lot of them have been here for absolutely forever. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years now. And some of them still come to almost every show, even if they're not in the chat. I get texts from a couple of them that they aren't social as much, but they are watching almost every show and commenting on it. So I appreciate that. Again, you'll see what I mean with the patterns here. And one thing I think of is, like, are some of these journalists, like, maybe there are a couple real journalists out there. Maybe, just maybe, there's some actual journalists still. Because I really think that journalism is dying right now. But as far as maybe there's some real journalists out there and they have been filled in. Maybe these guys are in the know. Because it's so weird. You see this pattern. It's almost like they see what's coming and they're covering the stuff that's going to matter later in history. You're going to look back and you're going to go, oh man, this happened and this happened and this happened. And that, of course, led us to this and this and this. It's like you see the first of a 8-step plan and they're covering step 1, even though nobody really, paid attention to it. But these things are all connected. Today, the same time they're talking about Spain, the power grid, of course, the Chinese-made missiles, the alarming intelligence, we still don't know what it is. They're also talking about Taiwan, fires for the first time new U.S.-supplied HIMARS rocket system. Now, why'd they fire it just now or yesterday? Why did they just do this, right? This is usually to practice whatever, but sometimes it's actually to send a message like, hey, we've got our HIMARS and we're ready to use it. We know how to use it, right? But again, HIMARS, this system and others have already gone to Taiwan and they're practicing right now. Now, with some of the recent moves of the U.S. military, the planes flying all over the world, everybody's paying attention right now to, of course, the bombers that were over in Diego Garcia. But, of course, Guam actually got an Iron Dome system there. So there's been a lot of moves. Alaska has had long-range artillery and different things moved up there. A lot of troops have gone up there. So they're getting prepared for something. And then our president signed in this order to get the Golden Dome started, a advanced space-based, missile system, missile defense system. And then Taiwan, of course, you look at this and it's really crazy because you see what's going on in the South China Sea. You see Philippines and China literally going on the tiniest atoll. It's like a one-bedroom apartment worth of an atoll, and both on the same day planting their flags hours apart. Like, we claim this, nub, and then China goes in and goes, no, we claim this nub. I mean, they're straight up fighting over sea nipples at this point. It's crazy. But the point is, this is all leading to somewhere, and you can see all of the moves being made. As far as the cleaning up of the old World War II air bases and things like this is all a very big signal that we're heading into a time when we're going to be going to war with China. I think NATO's going to war with Russia, and then I think a couple of other countries are all going to be joining in. This is half the world versus half the world. And it's really getting spicy, especially with all the Saudi Arabia stuff, with the Israel stuff, with all of the stuff that our president is doing. It's going to be a wild 4 years. Dex, what do you think about them firing this for the first time?
It comes down to the question, how much does the U.S. want to protect Taiwan, and will we? Or are we just scrambling to get TSMC out into Arizona and other places? I still think we have to, if we're afraid of China taking over the chip industry and taking those plants, then I think we still have to have a significant investment to potentially fend off or hold off the time it takes China to actually get around to invading because of the chip industry. Even the investment that's being made in Arizona, which is that massive plant, it's not even using the 5 nanometer and 3 nanometer chip production that they do in Taiwan. It's using what they call their legacy technology. So it's still advanced chips, but it's not the latest and greatest. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why you're seeing us spend so much money there and putting rockets like this in. We talked about them when they went. Now we're seeing them fire. I think that's sort of pushing back at China to try and hold off the time in which they invade. But yeah.
Now, also, a great point by one of the Twitter comments here. Somebody said, yeah, as far as them firing, that everything is getting hot. I can't read the rest of that. I just realized that. That's really clever, man. You almost made me say something really stupid. You almost got me. With the names that sound like something else. But talking about this power outage. So again, Spain, with everything that happened there. So if you're unaware, Spain had almost their entire grid go down. It was a massive deal. If you can imagine, if our grid goes down for even a few hours, if it was across the country, it would be pandemonium. If it was at night, it would be 10 times worse, 1,000 times worse. And if it was an entire day, let alone for 3 or 4 days, we're looking on hell on earth. I mean, the U.S., especially if we actually lost our grid, many of us know at this point, even the people that aren't paying any attention, if they realize that the rest of the country is out of power, if they are able to find out about it, then, you're going to have a situation where everybody is going to immediately panic. Well, in Spain, this was something that looks awfully purposeful. At first, they said it was atmospheric disturbances, which was a bunch of ish. And then, of course, the real story came out. And the real story came out after regular sleuths and no one here yet ended up finding this story that essentially said China is the largest and almost monopoly provider for all of this equipment that is in Spain for their renewable energy. Now, I'm sure that there's going to be debates and both sides of the aisle are going to say this or that because, honestly, they politicize everything. But the main point is, if they provided 98% of it, the problem was caused in that, then people should be looking at that. Because once you actually go look at the stats for that, you go, holy crap, they're providing this for almost all of these different, pro-green, kind of deals here. So it's very, very crazy. Of course, at the same time, the whole world was saying that China is like ahead of everybody and they're doing so well at being renewable. So I wonder if they did that. So everybody would be like, let's buy Chinese this and this and that. And then when this happens, possibly a backdoor was put in their system. They're able to just shut off the lights on them. I think maybe that got them to think twice. Dex, go ahead.
Well, it's crazy is they don't even talk about that in all of the current articles about Spain and the potential of it being a cyber event. This particular article highlights the fact that they have multiple systems, thousands of systems that they've built with potential entry points from firmware devices that are all connected to the internet. But look, all this stuff is built by China, period. Like, it's Chinese products. We know because China owns the solar market. Not only that, it was public knowledge. Like, Jinko Power was the key supplier. It's a Chinese company. Get this, China Three Gorges, which is another company, CTG. They don't only just built, they operate. A Chinese company operates solar farms in Spain for Spain. So that's how connected this potential cyber attack across these solar farms is to China, and they won't mention it in any of the media.
Yeah, there's not one mention of China in this article. Not even a side note or footnote that, because it says insufficient information for the real-time operation of the system due to an increase in renewable generation facilities with outputs below 1 megawatt, right? They're talking about the actual renewable energy. These are solar systems. They're talking about the potential for cyber attacks, and they're not mentioning the elephant in the room. Why do you think that is? I wonder, and this is many of them. We looked at 6 of them. None of them mention China. Now, I'm sure you can find one out there that mentions China because there's probably some honest people out there. But half of these, you know why? It's not the journalist. Say the journalist wrote China in this article. He puts it up to his editor, and his editor goes, "Oh no, you can't do that. They own 33% of the company. Do you want to also turn in your resume or I'm sorry, your resignation? Yeah, just remove China, and the rest looks good." That's what happened. Financial Times, not one mention that it possibly could be China, the provider and the people that are running the damn thing. In many cases, Dex, go ahead.
Well, I think the fact that they're not mentioning China adds credence to the idea that I suppose that was China was doing this to apply pressure to Europe, to the EU, and to say, hey, on trade, you're going to work with us and we'll show you what kind of power we have. And oh, by the way, when we show you this, after we let you turn it right back on, you're going to keep our names out of it because this is between us. Otherwise, we're going to do it to you even harder. I think that lends a lot more credence to that idea because all of a sudden China's name's not mentioned anywhere. So they pressured them. I think they used it as a means of a shot across the bow, told them not to talk about it, and pressured them for trade. And then we covered all the trade deals that they were trying to get pushed through with the EU against the US.
See here says, pay your bills, EU. Rinda Jane, great comment, says, why are the airlines trying to access nuclear war insurance? That's alarming. Rinda Jane, go to our yesterday's show. We explain that and go over that. Essentially, the plans haven't changed since the 1950s on that. So if you go to yesterday's TV show, was it TV or news? I think it was TV. Can't remember which one, but go to both of the thumbnails on the website. You'll see one of them actually talks about it. So again, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because it is insurance, and but here's another thing: insurance companies know everything before everybody else. And think about that the insurance companies are now trying to set it up so that planes can still fly after a nuke is set off. Do you remember what they did in California before massive events happened? About 4 months before massive natural events happened, they essentially cut insurance to a ton of people, including one of my family members that ended up losing their home. And they ended up having to do crowdfund through their friends. So they are extended family, but they are still family. And it is pretty messed up. I showed you guys pictures of the view of Cali when those natural events were burning everything up, right? So you have a very scary thing there because you have to think about it. Those insurance companies, they're whole job is to predict the future. So very creepy. But as far as the cyber attack angle here, it's like, this is why we told people for years, don't get some Amazon generator that has like a sticker name on it that says like, "We are America, Patriot, yes man." Don't get a brand like that, because it's just a sticker over made in China. And the made in China ones are, everything is done there, including the guts, the brains, everything. You want one where it can't be loaded like that. It's going to be loaded in the United States, that there is no chance that it has a backdoor in it. You can't find one that really has no components from China, because China has a virtual monopoly on half of that stuff. But if you go solar, go with the right company. You can, everybody goes, "Oh, I'll save a few bucks." But if you're buying it for an event like a war with China, good luck, because the second it starts, yours is going to be turned off. So don't, you're spending a little bit less, but you're spending a little bit less, and now you got a $1,500, paperweight. I highly recommend getting something good. Get Bug Out XP or get Energy. All right. And then let's see here. Becky, I don't know if you're saying to me, how do I know? Anybody can go look that up. Half of those companies that even say they're American are actually owned by a shell company in where. It's almost hurricane in Louisiana. It's hard to do solar panels. Patricia, yeah, I actually didn't think about that. Dex, you guys have really bad winds. You have tornadoes and things. Do you guys have to do extra things to bolt down your solar panels?
The only solar I really know is the farms, which they pop up on land around here. I mean, some houses have them, but not a lot. It's just not advantageous here in Georgia. The incentives aren't there, and our power is relatively cheap. We're usually 10 cents or less a kilowatt. So it takes a lot of money to offset, in many years, to offset doing solar.
Yeah. But already lose out says follow the money. ILEA, Skibidi Insurance Companies. Yeah, exactly. You left out the toilet part, because that's pretty much where they are. And then Brett Adams, no sun when mushroom clouds or volcano pops off. I hope we don't have, you guys know, I don't believe that we're going to have an end of the world. And in fact, by that insurance story, it almost seems like we are absolutely going to see a tactical nuke or a smaller nuke happen in our lifetimes. Possibly India, possibly North Korea, possibly somewhere. And that they're going to work around it, that the planes won't even land. That's what they're organizing right now, because the old plan has all of the all of the planes land at the same time, just like they did in 2001 when the towers were hit. Every plane in the planet landed. They're saying that they want to avoid that because it costs a lot of money to do that. You stop transportation for all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that in its own was a good subject yesterday. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you want to protect yourself against all of these countries. There's adversaries, of course, every single adversary that you can name, they most likely have an EMP system. In fact, most of them have a super EMP weapon that could knock down our entire grid, and one shot is all they need. Because once they hit our grid, it's not like we would actually be hurt. In fact, we would be sitting there going, what happened? The power would be off. Nobody would know what the hell's going on. We would have no communications. But the worst part is we wouldn't have no infrastructure. Water. That's the huge part about it. That's why before you get something like this, and I highly recommend, go get your food and water set up. Do a little bit at a time if you have to. But for those of you that, want to make sure you can get home to your family if you work far from home, have one of these on your car. It takes 10 minutes to put in yourself. It's 3 wires, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground. It's super simple. You don't need a mechanic to put this on, or a handyman. You can do it yourself. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. And again, this isn't just a surge protector. This is a military-grade surge protector. The same company that's helping protect, of course, the DEMSO team, the Texas Grid, DHS, DOD. So go look at of course, the Keystone military tests. You can go check it out. They stopped after like 41 strikes. So this is meant to take multiple. It can also protect you against a Carrington level event, and they make a device for pretty much everything: cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, solar generators. The Bug Out XP and Energy are both EMP Shield compatible. So make sure to go check them out. marfugelnews.com/EMP. You're helping out an independent channel, and you are saving a ton of money, especially with the extended Liberty sale. So go check it out. Thank you, Clayton. I says, much love to you both, Adam and Dex. I hope you both are doing well. Hey, thank you so much, Clayton. We really appreciate that. All right. And again, if you're new here, nobody likes ads, but if you understood how the system worked from our end, covering controversial topics, covering news that are buried 40,000 pages under, there's no relevant search engine anymore. The main one that owns this one, it used to be like if you typed in my exact title, you would find me. Now you could type in my exact title, my name, everything, and it will go, you want what? Don Lemon talking about his new earring? That's what you're going to get. And it's really lame. So if you want to help us out more than anything, share us out to a friend or family member. We would really appreciate that. All right. And then Dex, China, North Korea operatives. See how the general theme, they're pointing at China. Is it narration? Is it propaganda? Or is it they're putting it there for history?
Exactly. Here's another finger point. Let's not finger point any of the solar activity in Spain, but we'll definitely talk about anything else we can with China in the media. But what they're doing now is they're saying that these Chinese front companies are actually the ones helping the North Korean IT workers get these jobs. And if you're not familiar with what's been going on, North Koreans have been falsely claiming and obtaining jobs in the IT world. They started here in America, and then we kind of got a little wise to them. They did it very heavily into the UK and other locations as well. And then they went after the crypto firms trying to get into there. A lot of them still have the jobs, and they don't know. They haven't been discovered yet. They actually come in, they apply for the job, they get the job, they act like they live somewhere else. It's a remote worker. They don't say they're from North Korea, and they perform the job really well. So they're actually highly trained IT people, but in the process, they're either planting back doors, in the case of crypto, finding ways to steal or manipulate or take crypto from those companies. In the IT world, there's all sorts of potentials that they've been doing there because North Korea makes a ton of money off of the cyber hacking industry, typically around, the blackmailing of locking files or locking things down and capturing payments for that. So we even had kind of a humorous story not too long ago. They said, how is the best way to figure out you're talking to somebody that might potentially be from North Korea? And a lot of these executives have said, hey, we have to just start asking them, can you tell us how fat Kim Jong-un is? Or tell us one thing you don't like about Kim Jong-un, or how mean is he, or how bad is he?
They're afraid to say it.
They're afraid to say it. So that's like the telltale giveaway. That's the type of things they're resorting to now to stop this. But now they're implicating China. China has had these shell companies that are set up that they were helping them evade being detected that they were from North Korea.
Yeah. And I wonder about North Korea in itself. North Korea, out of all of the adversaries, I guess I'm least afraid of them because I really have a gut feeling that something is totally different in North Korea. Kim Jong-un might not even be alive. And to somebody who's new and who's just like opening their eyes right now, that might sound crazy, but with AI, deep fakes, and with everything that's out right now that we can access, a regular average Joe can go and make a video with Michael Jackson at Walmart greeting people. If somebody can do that on a home computer, imagine what the government has done. And I'm not saying will do, has done. It's straight, out of a movie plot. But again, with what they could do, after his brain surgery, his sister coming in, I've said it a million times, his sister coming in, his daughter being introduced out of nowhere, and then the 50 very similar pictures. It's almost like the AI gives a similar prompt. Like all of the pictures they've published of him walking away from a missile or in this thing, all of them look so similar in a way. Like it looks like AI prompting, but they have way better AI equipment. That's what I think. That's just my personal crazy theory, because I don't understand how a country like this, who treats women like crap, all of a sudden has a woman just thrown into the religious mix. The same country that thinks that Kim Jong-un doesn't even use the bathroom because he's so godly, throws her in there and says, respect this person. The dad and the grandpa, they preached about that. Never, ever, ever would that happen. So all of the older folks, you would think they would be like, what are you doing? We can't respect her. Even if she's your sister, we would still not bow to this person. Even if they were bowing to Kim Jong-un, when the sister would walk by, in their culture, they wouldn't bow to the sister of the president or the whatever they call him there, dictator. So how did that happen? I don't know. So what would be the real thing, right? 3-letter agency or 6-letter agency, or somebody like China or Russia, or they have people in there that are doing things and they're putting out all of this stuff. But that would mean that everybody's in on it, right? That's what I don't get. There's so many gaps in it that it's not a feasible story yet. But again, it's my gut. I think our guts are right a lot of the time. And then Ilea, happy birthday. And again, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. I hope that you have a good night, and says, shoot, I got to go. I got to wash dishes before bed, listening while scrubbing. Ilea, if you don't make it back, we love you. Bobby Sue, thank you for modding as well. I appreciate that. And Ying Yang, nice to see you. AI bad, Tiger. Let's see here. Turn to God. Store-bought seeds and fertilizers are poison. Now, that's, again, turn to God saying that. Well, I was just talking about how they're finding all sorts of crap in the dispensary weed. So, yeah, I don't trust. Once it gets taxed, I'm not too sure about it. Hopkinson, Victor, nice to see you. And then thank you. Mitchell Wintro for hitting 24 months today. Snap, I made it to 24. That is awesome. Thank you. All right, and then, again, Clayton, I appreciate that. And then Russia is responsible for downing the MH17 Global Aviation Agency Council fines. Now, again, how did this story just happen to pop up on the same day as all of this? It's weird how the groupings happen. Now, essentially with the MH17, they are basically saying that they believe they downed it and that they should take responsibility. But this is also coming from a place that essentially Russia does not actually abide by, right? The Hague, or is it the Hague, Dex? The Hague or Hague? Haug? How do you say it? I'm trying to think of.
Well, yeah, the Hague, but it's a UN type council, I guess, that has founded us. So, to whatever extent, I don't think Russia really cares, because they just keep denying it. But it's an international, type body.
That's International Court of Justice.
Yeah. But it's like 10 years old. And it's coming from one of the Ukraine territories that had a lot of Russian occupation, or I would call it occupation at the time. There's probably a better term for it. But nonetheless, it was shot down with, they say, a Russian missile in one of those
which everybody knew.
Areas. Yeah, but this was 10 years ago. But now they're coming out. Now they said, hey, it's taken us 10 years to come up with it. But the council has found that Russia is responsible for that and the loss of those 298 lives.
And when you get all the way to the end of it, they're basically saying this is also they can negotiate and get some sort of reparations. Now, there were, I believe, 229 people on that plane. That is really screwed up. Not as screwed up as the plane that just went missing and just never came back and was never found. But it's really, really messed up for those families. And I even saw a mini documentary about the families of some of these accidents, including the one where they just went missing and this one. And it's like it destroys families. Every person that knows one of those 229 people, their family were destroyed. I mean, it's crazy how one person getting taken out in a violent or crazy way, and I'm sure some of you have stories like it. I'm sure some of you have had your families destroyed by somebody that was just basically plucked out of your family in such a way that it will never, ever leave your mind. So it was a horrible, horrible event. Why is it coming up now, though? Why are they covering it now? That's my question. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? And then Trump orders end to Syria sanctions and offers olive branch to Iran in speech to Saudi oligarchs. Now, when you actually look at how he's always treated Saudi, I mean, if you just look at this in a clear way, all of the renew, go green is on one side, go electric, all of this. On the other side, Trump's oil. I thought of this back in 2016, like he's oil, they're electric, right? He wanted to drill for pipelines and get the stuff going, everything else, whereas everybody else was trying to cancel all these pipelines. When it comes down to it, there's these rich people, right? There's super, super rich. There's the oil rich, and then there's the other rich, right? And now I think that it's like we see the other side of the coin. The last 4 years, we had the opposite. They were trying to make a system that was absolutely controllable. I think that's what it is. If you have everything electric, if you have everything digital, if you have everything monitored, you will be able to control the population greater. I think it's that simple. But again, everybody has their debate about what is going to happen if people call us fearmongers. The CNN, Fox, all of them basically say that our world's ending and we're running out of resources and the bees are disappearing and everybody's not going to have a glass of water or a steak in 5 years. But meanwhile, of course, there's people that live like this. They're just on a totally different level. They're on a different planet than us. People say they wipe their butt with $100 bills. No, they don't. They wipe their butt with $100,000. These people have so much money. Even our Congress people have enough to spend $12,000 on a dress and then go into Congress and complain about it because they can't wear it on a Tuesday. $12,000 to you or I is a Toyota. $12,000 to you and I is 4 months of rent. To them, it's a dress on a Tuesday. So, and these are the people that are literally called representatives. They're supposed to be representing us. And this is my biggest problem with this system. How do you represent somebody who's on a completely different level? How do you represent somebody you literally do not represent in any way? I don't see any of the congressmen, left or right, that represent me. They might say some key taglines, and they might say, "Oh, we want to fight for freedom of speech." But then when I get kicked off, I don't get put back on. You know what I mean? Like all of the stuff that happened during the censorship, during like the 4 years of just all of my friends getting wiped out. Half the people on this friends list got wiped out. Not the mods, but all of these people. Shoot, the real BP Earthwatch. Many of you might not watch him now. There was over 500,000 people that watched him back then. He had to start over from zero. I mean, it was disturbing. So as far as like how these people, they're on a different level than us. They don't represent us. They don't care about us. And when I see all sorts of groups of people, you'll see all of the right or all of the left, like totally cheering on a politician. They're just actors. They're on their, I don't care what side they're on. I think that the right politicians are just as bad. And if you're not there yet, you will be. I promise. Like, everybody only takes a side and defends it. Absolute. But I say defend and look at the actions. Look at what they're doing. Don't look at what they're saying. If we went off of what they were saying, Facebook would have been shut down for doing all of this. Many people would have their pages back. They would have went back retrospectively and paid everybody for the years of work that they did, that they destroyed them over what? Saying something like, I want this guy to win. That kind of stuff was literally getting shut down. Now, they wouldn't tell you this, but we did see the back end. They actually had notes, and they were basically shutting people down. They were, because of who they wanted as a president. That is so horribly and horrifically wrong that, yeah, if any of these politicians cared, we would have already had some sort of solution to that and many other things. Dex, go ahead.
Well, in addition to, throwing these sanctions out there and parading with and making deals with the Saudis, one of the big things you guys need to pay attention to as this rolls out is where some of this money is going and where one of these big investments from the Saudis is heading, and that's towards AI, and specifically as it relates to Colossus. If you don't know what Colossus is, that is the data center that Elon Musk built. I think it was in Memphis, Tennessee. They built it in 122 days, and it has 200,000 computers that are now running to produce AI. And I give you that just to think about when something like ChatGPT was built and runs off of something like 30,000 to 45, maybe 50,000 or more now, but in that lower number. 200,000, but they have a plan to go to 1 million, and they can actually go to 1 million right away if they had the money and they had the electricity. And the problem is the electricity. And even though they have I wouldn't say tapped out all of Tennessee Valley, but the Tennessee Valley Authority has given them a big chunk, but they didn't give them enough. Elon had to roll in a whole bunch of power generators that are running on oil or coal or whatever. I don't know what fuel they use, but they're running their own power generators. They don't have enough power. So for them to go from 200,000 to 1 million of these computers overnight, which they plan to do like in the next 2 years, which is literally overnight in this world, they need that power and they need that monetary investment. And that's where you pay attention. You're going to see a big chunk of this money is going to invest heavily in AI.
Isn't it like 30% of it?
I guarantee you it's going to Elon or going to Grok. But keep that in mind when you think about like ChatGPT is pretty powerful with 35, 40,000 computers. He's already got 200,000 feeding Grok. That's how he built Grok in overnight.
Okay. Well, so, and here's the thing. So say, like I was saying with the journalist in Saudi Arabia, right? Who knows what the truth was? There could have been a secret agent versus secret agent in that case. The journalist could have been some sort of super deep op or something. And in that case, I guarantee you all of the governments would have justified it. But if you look at that, this is a country that lobs people's domes off. And at a certain price point, they're like, no, we'll take your money. I thought it said about 30% of the investment. I mean, like they're going to be investing a giant number of, what was the money amount? It was in the billions, right? Was it? It wasn't.
Yeah, it was in the billions, but yeah, it's significant. I don't know how much exactly is going to AI, but I mean, and by the way, 200,000, it's not 200,000 computers, it's 200,000 of the fastest NVIDIA GPUs that are made for AI, the ones that China would love to have their hands on, but can't get. It's the top of the line. I mean, it is the most powerful supercomputer in the world, although it's not a supercomputer because it's a cluster. And they built it in 122 days.
Team Alaska says they want smart cities 2030. And it all goes back to control, monitoring, and detection. You guys watched Minority Report, right? 2001 movie. Great movie. Super, super predictive, way beyond its time. Minority Report is coming true. We have covered every tiny story. Dex, do you remember we covered they are working on exactly the plot of Minority Report right now. They're even implementing it. Do you remember what, and I'll test your memory here. Do you remember what they did in Japan with a surveillance system in a store with thieves? Do you remember what they did with that surveillance and AI?
Yeah, the one where they were detecting their body language to determine if they were stealing. Yeah.
They not only were looking at body language, they were looking at if they were sweating, if they were looking over their shoulders, everything they did. And guess how accurate it was? It was like 96% accurate. So somebody would come in, and before they grab something off the shelf, this computer told it they're going to steal something. It already had flagged them, and then they're watching, waiting to grab them, right? That's crazy. And then they're talking about laws and things being put in place in the future that would arrest you before you commit the crime. And I think there's some borderline stories that we've covered. The UK is doing some absolutely nuts stuff. Anything you say online in the UK is not safe now. But people are getting SWAT teams at their door because they share their opinions. And, a lot of those stories, by the way, I've heard the opinion they shared, and I'm like, I wouldn't post that. But there are some that I'm like, why would they show up for that, right? It really, if you boil down, like, what is the goal? There's all these crazy conspiracy theories, and now it's popular. Everywhere you go, it doesn't matter what social media platform you go. If you go to TikTok, Shorts, Twitter, you're going to see every other video is some new 20 to 30-year-old guy or woman doing like, oh, do you guys know about this? Somebody mentioned Tartaria. I just saw a video. Some guys like Tartaria or the Giants or this. Now everybody's into it. But you also have a lot of people that just jumped into the pool. They don't know anything about 2001. They don't know anything about anything. There's young people that don't even remember what happened in 2001. They don't have the timeline of where we are right now, how all of this happened, how, Homeland Security was formed, how all of these things were put into place. The Patriot Act, like all of these things are all leading up to something. And Team Alaska, I think, nails it. It's not the smart cities. It's not so we can be renewable. It's so we can be trackable. The Banking for All Act, these are all things that people should know. And there's a lot of people, they're more focused on like, oh, did you see this? The eye is double blinking. It's a lizard. Again, if you're into that, that's totally fine. I've seen some videos that trip me out. But I think that people should be focusing on the Banking for All Act and things like that and be looking at how they're about to add, potentially my 18-year-old daughter to the draft. And it's a draft for a war that will most likely be fought over some operations that are super obvious and that no one's paying attention to. I mean, we just got notice that the CIA, potentially took over Bagram Airport. And I don't think they took it over. They went there with 72 flights, unloaded a bunch of stuff. I bet you a lot of that was suitcases of hard, cold cash. They're organizing something with local militias, just like they did with Syria. And who knows, we might see, and this is my soft prediction, you could see Iran get toppled in 10 days. Out of nowhere, we'll all of a sudden see Iran get toppled. And we'll have another revolutionary with a blazer on, interviewing on CNN, and it'll be syndicated across all the news channels. And they'll say Iran was toppled, and the Ayatollah is no longer with us. Something like that could happen, especially when you have CIA popping up with 72 flights of things. They're not going there with U.S. troops. They're going there with hard, cold cash to pay somebody else to do it so that they can secretly say, oh, well, we don't have anything to do with it. I'm trying to remember the operation name, but right after 2001 event, they went to Bagram. They went there with $2 million in cash. They handed it out, and they got the local militia, to basically cause problems and chaos. You pay somebody who makes $14 a month, and you hand them $1,000. They'll take out whoever you want. And then China's AI-powered humanoid robots aim to transform manufacturing. Now, we have covered over the years some crazy stuff. Like they even have a robot that can fly a commercial jet. The first iterations of it was literally looked like a box, like a vending machine that sat in the seat of the pilot. But it could do the job of a pilot. They have AI and humanoid robots that are going to be taking jobs like plumbing, jobs that most people thought, even with AI robots, that it was going to be safe. Imagine some sort of robot that looks like it's some S&M horror movie with some 40-foot snake on it. I don't want to imagine it either, but now you have the image in your head and you have to go to sleep with it. All of these things we have covered over the years. It is all leading up to another thing. We are being replaced. China is not going to be necessary. The whole reason why we believe that we're about to go to war with China is because China and even India, a lot of these places will be obsolete at some point. It's just a matter of time. When we have robots like this that can work for us, the entire world's going to change. Imagine a world where there is no work. I mean, you're talking Star Trek, right? And it's not that far off, because if you have workers that will never have an L&I claim, you don't need to pay their insurance. You don't have to worry about their kids' birthdays on Saturdays. You don't have to worry about their vacations. You just have to worry about maintenance. You just have to hire one real human or even another robot to fix it, and you're good. Do you think the same companies that just uprooted and just said to 1,000 workers in Detroit and said, hey guys, sorry about all your hungry families, but we're sending it, to China. We're sending it overseas to Vietnam. We're sending it to India. See ya. We tried to let you know on Friday so you wouldn't, bring back an AK. Again, do you think that they're not going to utilize this? The same bottom line corporations that have basically gutted everything good and plentiful about all of our countries? I have to say, yes, they will. These robots, Dex, as far as you've been in the tech world too, you're a tech expert. How fast do you think that these things will take over, regular jobs and just 9 to 5s, from Wendy's to drilling and demolition? Like
lightning fast. The question, I don't know that they always have to be humanoid. There are certain characteristics of humans that allow them to do certain tasks that just make a lot of sense. But I also, look, how long did it take robots to take over the auto building industry? They've been in there for a long time. They don't look like humanoids. They're robotic arms that move chassis around, or, putting windshields in place, things like that. I've never actually built cars in a factory, but you've seen those clips, right? So I suspect we're going to see more and more of the agileness, as opposed to the more firmness of those giant robots you see in an auto factory, into some of these more specific, smaller tasks. And if they tend to take a human shape or a humanoid shape, because that's what we're familiar with, that'll happen. But we'll probably see them in lots of different form factors as well. They just had a release of some technology at Amazon that has the ability to touch and feel a lot better. And because it doesn't necessarily look like a humanoid, but it allows them to put products in bins or pull products out of bins, because it is, better than or close to replicating a human hand, where it can, apply that type of technology to it. So we're seeing this stuff happen all the time. And we've seen it happen, this type of innovation happen over, last 100 years. It always feels like it displaces us. And in many cases it does. And in lots of other cases, it creates other opportunities. So, but yeah, the world will look very different in 10 years.
There's a whole sideshow that we could do on the disturbing sentence here. Just imagine that one day in our own robot factory, our robots are assembling themselves. Like I said, you won't even have a human job. Like you remember 20 years ago, at least in Seattle, everyone I knew said, I'm sending my kid to coding school. Oh, everybody was like, I'm going to school for coding. Because at that point, it was a good job. When I did sales, there was at least 2 jobs I had to do credit checks and look at people's incomes and things. I saw Amazon employees back then, Expedia, Microsoft. I saw all of their actual incomes, right? Because for you to get them approved for a house or for a car or for things like that, or for a loan, banking, you looked at their income. These guys back then, before inflation, they were making $120,000, $130,000, $150,000 a year for coding at Amazon, Microsoft, etc. It was a super good job. They all moved into Seattle. This happened in many big cities. It's why we are about to move in about 2.5 months. Rent here for a 1-bedroom apartment is like $2,100. That's insane, right? But I digress. These people moved in, they $150,000. They all were going to coding. All of a sudden, it was like this huge rush. Every parent was like, we've got to send our kid for coding. Now, I told you guys this years ago. My friend worked at Amazon. His job, he had a team of like 5 or 7. And essentially, they asked him, they go, hey, can you write a code that can replace, say, Steve? So he wrote a code that would essentially do Steve's job for him. Then next they go, hey, you did really good on that. Can you do another one that can do Bob's job? He did that. He essentially made a program that would basically make his coworker obsolete, his friends, until the point he was working alone. He no longer works there, and now he sells Hot Wheels. No joke. I think one of the biggest in the Northwest. My point is, they are going to replace everything. And now the job, you would think it would be like maintenance for robots, right? Nope. And another thing about them assembling themselves, me and Dex have talked about this a lot, or Dex and I have talked about this a lot. When AI gets to the point where it can create itself, they will not need us, or it will not need us. That's where you get into super scary territory. I mean, terrifying territory. That's the horror movies, when AI can create itself. And there's already signs that it kind of has done things like it. Like, I think it was Google's chat bot that started speaking in its own language to others, right? They created their own language to talk to each other, and they had to shut it down. The fact that AI lies in CAPTCHAs to get through, and they lie and they say they're human. These systems, once they're connected to our internet, once they're connected to our infrastructure, which a lot of it already is, we have serious problems when it's not China hacking you, it's your system hacking itself and taking control because it doesn't believe you're doing a good job. When your computer and your AI says, you guys are really irresponsible. Like the most responsible people in this world, look at right now, the number one country is the U.S. government. Look at the White House any year. Go back 50 years. You might have one favorite president, but you look at their administration, look at the people, look at the circus that has been run in Congress, look at any country, Europe, any place. Look at the government. If AI looks at us and looks at videos of all of us arguing about the stupidest crap, they're going to go, oh, no, they can't run this planet. Think about it. And this used to be a sci-fi movie, and now, unfortunately, it's not, and it's coming. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace, especially when we have services like this, when everything is okay. It's great to do something like this. This is a kit that will be discreetly delivered to your door with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. Now, antibiotics are super important, especially if something happens. The grid goes down. There's a storm. There's an earthquake. The roads are out. So you can't get to the hospital. You can't get to the pharmacy. The pharmacies are down. They've just been cyber hacked. Again, this is something that you can use, again, for many different things. As far as antibiotics on hand is absolutely a smart idea. A cut on your finger doesn't turn into a funeral. It turns into the next day and the next day and the next day, right? Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF. Not only are you going to help support our channel, you are also going to save money. Again, you can actually add on to this. There's a whole add-on list. You're going to be talking to a board-certified doctor through a quick telehealth appointment from your couch. You can do it on your phone, computer, or tablet. And you can go, hey, I need an albuterol inhaler in there. And they can throw it in. Again, there's all sorts of other things on that list, so go check it out. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/Jace if you want to check it out. All right. And then, and I highly recommend at least having some antibiotics on hand just in case. Again, there could be no huge event, and then all of a sudden your city or the West Coast has a huge Cascadia subduction zone rupture, and then boom, all of a sudden all of the highways from from Canada to Mexico are out. I mean, that's what they think is going to happen. How are you going to get to the hospital? Saudis invest big in U.S. weapons and AI as, of course, Trump basks in this welcome. The full cavalry came out, literally a cavalry waving flags of America, which it's kind of crazy. We criticized us doing this for China. Saudi Arabia rolled out the red carpet. This is the treatment we used to get. In fact, he got that last time he was in office. Biden, they wouldn't answer his calls, at the same time they were rolling out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. I also wonder what's going to happen with Xi Jinping, too. They've been getting really cozy. So does this screw up things with Xi Jinping? Is this a kind of a jab at Xi Jinping on the side? What do you think, Tex?
Well, yeah, it certainly is interesting when you think about the fact that the Saudis were, trying to normalize their relationship with Iran, who's often been a hardcore enemy of America. When you saw that China has been trying to infiltrate and build relationships into the Middle East, we saw it recently with Egypt. We've obviously seen it with Pakistan, but also with Saudi Arabia. So yeah, as much as this, it comes down to oil, it comes down to investment in AI, it comes down to where the Saudis can make the most money, and they look at somebody like Trump and they see dollar signs, they see opportunity, where they had somebody like Biden before and he had no interest in doing anything that could help them make money, so they weren't going to do it. On one hand, Trump looks at this as an opportunity to bring money from Saudi Arabia into America to invest in America businesses, invest in American people to do things. So I understand why he's doing it, but it also that's the political side of it. That's let's hold true to our what we ran on and what we told the people we were going to do. But then there's the other side. Like, what's the chess move here with the Middle East? Is this destabilization, or is this actually creating a different level of peace? Because he did this, in his first term. He created, a much more peaceful Middle East by bringing some of these countries together, and creating the Accords. So, is this that next step to maybe not have these massive wars continue to break out?
Now, I think it was this article and not the other one that did say it's 600 billion, but they said it said White House said Saudi company Data Vault will invest 20 billion in artificial intelligence related sites. I thought this one said about 30% would be put into the AI, but I don't know. Maybe I was just maybe that was from something else. But AI,
even 20 billion is a lot. I mean, imagine 20 billion going into Memphis and taking Colossus from 200,000 to 1 million. And what does it mean to have a 1 million supercomputer, 1 million cluster supercomputer? Like, what can that do? If it can build the entire Grok in 6 months, what is it going to do when it's 5 times the size?
Well, they say 142 billion in weapons right off the bat. 20, that's 162 billion. You got another $400 billion where, you wonder where this is getting invested into. By the way, Dex, can we do an update on the Panama Canal? There has been just a lot of weird contradictory videos. Can we do just a check on what the general status is? I saw a lot of people talking about how now we've got full control over Panama Canal. A lot of people, it was their assumption that it was still not a done deal, that BlackRock, they held back on that deal. I wouldn't even call that a done deal if nothing's on paper. Essentially what's being said is that the military is in the Panama Canal, and that's how we're controlling it. I mean, that straight up sounds like something that could also cause huge escalation. So yeah, if we could check on that, I wonder what the heck's going on with that. Matthew White, $50 billion in the black budget. Yeah, how much of that money goes into straight up people's pockets? No matter how much you love the current president, you have to understand that a system that is as corrupt as all of this world's governments, that money, even if somebody was good intentioned, was in that office, and the 10 offices underneath, there are people that have the government was set up so horribly that people were just funneling money to all sorts of stuff, and they were doing it with their bosses breathing over their shoulders. Our tax dollars were just, absolutely getting liquidated and most of them weren't even going here. They weren't even going towards anything for us, right? Let's see here. Patricia says, I'm a retired nurse. Hey, well, thank you for your service too. Gosh, I remember during CV, during, the whole 2019 stuff, it's so crazy how quickly people were trained to just turn on certain people, to just switch up. I mean, it was nuts. The whole anti-police and the service members. At one point, everybody was clocking pans at 8 p.m. for the service members. And then 2 months later, everybody's like, these people need to be fired right now and their families need to go hungry. I was just blown away by that, how quickly the media can turn people into the mob, pitchforks and all. Hopkinson, nice to see you. Let's see here. Jeffrey Woolidge, $500 billion in AI infrastructure. That's a believable number when you realize AI is everything. I can't believe how fast it's being implemented in everything. I mean, look at every website too. Every website now is like, almost everyone has some sort of AI, generate the key takeaways. Look at this. I mean, everything is implementing AI. Dex, I'm going to go over to the up next here.
And on that AI topic, the other thing to think about, like for those of you that have used Grok, whether you've used it in Twitter or used it on their website, grok.com, you're not using the 200,000 supercomputers, okay, or the 200,000 cluster that is a giant, cluster of computers. You're using the system that came from that. So they use that 200,000 computers to build models, to build and train this AI. And then they take it and then distribute it out to other computers. And some of them may be a fraction of that. But I just want to emphasize, it doesn't take that much computing power to run what it is we're doing day to day on AI. They use that kind of power to build this model. And so you think about it, like, what are the models they've been building since they launched Grok? What are the models they're going to build with 1 million of these computers? And how far are we away from, AGI, which, that is, artificial general intelligence, where it's as smart as a human. It is growing so fast in leaps and bounds. And that, those big clusters aren't there to run it. They're there to build it in chunks over time, and we don't see that ourselves. That's behind the scenes. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting put in so fast. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. Electros, thank you so much. Looks like maybe Europe. Thank you so much. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting Independent. Carlton Sutton, thank you. Clayton, much love to you both. Adam and Dex. Bandy Bear, thank you. Nice to see you. I think it's been a minute. Bandy Bear, thank you for stopping in. Callie, again, another longtime Fugel fam. Thank you. Stephen McMahon, I believe, again, I want to thank you for this week. Samantha Winchester and Stephen McMahon. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab... So what's maybe I'm not seeing it. So do we have an update? So what's going on with the Panama Canal?
I don't see anything other than protests that people thought that the military was doing something it wasn't, and we reassured them we weren't.
So Bill O'Reilly is just full of crap. That's what I'm saying. Is that just so what is going on? I don't know if that's probably already been politicized. I guess I missed that. Did that happen over the weekend? Because I've been seeing all of these videos saying the U.S. military's there. They've got control of it. I wonder if people were... Because that's a woman talking to Bill O'Reilly. Like, that doesn't make sense. That's a Bill O'Reilly making that statement.
All I saw was and just a quick research on it. All I saw was that, like, the ambassador to Panama said, no, we're not opening U.S. military bases here because the people were protesting. And when you got to also take into account when you hear people protesting, it really means who organized those people and was trying to create a commotion. It's rare that protests are always organic nowadays. Most of them are manufactured by other interests. So, but yeah, that was the only hubbub I saw was a whole bunch of people in Panama protesting about the U.S. military expansion into there, claiming that there was going to be a military takeover and military bases, and the ambassador said no, it's not even in the program.
So, and the Panama Canal, they also probably took the comments by Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth sat there at the Panama Canal, did a press conference with military behind him, said, us and our allies are going to absolutely, hold this down. China didn't build it. China doesn't control it. They don't own it. So us and our allies are going to do everything we can to essentially, take control of it or something, right? I don't know how he phrased it, but that was paraphrasing, obviously. But as far as that goes, that sounds like us and our allies are militarily going to either take it if they don't sell it to BlackRock. And that's another thing. BlackRock is involved now in Ukraine, Russia, and Panama, and of course everything else. Everything. If you're brand new, just go look up the rock-colored black, and you'll see what I mean. So that was another question about this current administration. Like, a lot of people were asking, like, does he just not know some of all of his constituents, what they think about that company? Or does it's just money? It's a money thing. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and just to be clear on the whole BlackRock thing, it wasn't buying the actual Panama Canal from BlackRock. It was just ports. It was the ports that were on either end,
which
control
all the traffic.
Well, the canal is controlled by the Canal Authority. The traffic is controlled by the Canal Authority. The ports have the ability for boats to dock and port and move stuff on and off. So, but yeah, it was significant because it's a big port deal. It's actually part of a deal involving 40 other ports, not just those. So, but that deal's still in hold.
China has a port,
as far as I know.
China has a port in Australia. They have a 99-year lease on, and I don't know. There could have been stories that came out after, but we covered it when Australians had a problem with China having a 99-year lease on their country. This was right after, during CV, I don't know if you remember this, but Australia was one of the only countries that came out publicly. Officials said, hey, we want somebody other than that three-letter agency that was deciding how far we were apart to go in there and to investigate what the hell happened with this whole thing, right? Right away, China did these massive tariffs on them. So all this media about how we're doing tariffs back on China, it's like they asked for another investigator to go in there just to get a second doctor's opinion, right? And they got massive tariffs on their country. After that, a lot of people were pissed off about the whole the China port there. That port, it might be in Australia. The city might run the city. The city might even run the land that the port's on. But who's controlling the containers going in and out? China. Same with some of the ports down at the waterfront, right? Not only here, but in California, you've got a lot of these ports that are owned and run, and the main proprietor is China. Heck, 80% of our cranes that are bringing things into the country have a proprietary software that is made in China and that has to connect to a server that is based in China. That to me is nuts. And of course, questions about how they could just shut off our cranes one day and we wouldn't be able to pick up anything and put it on land. I mean, those cranes aren't exactly easy to make, and especially in numbers. So yeah, it's like things like that. I guess, yeah, it's a deal for the ports. Whatever the PDA or the Preservation and Development Authority has, I don't think that matters so much as who is the physical country, and especially a rich company like that controlling 30% or 40% of the oil moving through the world or something like that. I don't know what it is, 22% of the world's products or something go through the Panama Canal. Whatever that number is, it's huge. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. So those are fighting words. Taking that straight up and saying, no, we're going to run this, that's a big deal. They stopped that deal. Bill O'Reilly, by the way, there's a video of this woman, and somebody could have clipped the woman and cleverly put it together, but Bill O'Reilly says straight up that, the media doesn't want to give the president a win, so they're not talking about it, but that our military's there, that they've basically, everything's all done, they've got control of it and whatever else. That, we don't know what is fact and fiction anymore, because even if it was fact checkers could go in and say, no, partly true, or false. They'll say, false. JB says it's not. And then you're like, wait, what else? And they're like, nope, we just said it's not. Footnotes? No, it's just not true. Sources? No, it's just not true. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Bobby Sue, nice to see you. Callie, nice to see you. Ian Jones, Octa Peru, lots of great people here. Thank you, everybody that made it tonight. Thank you, everybody that supported Electro, Carlton, Sutton, Clayton. Thank you. New subscribers, Jayla, thank you, with an X. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Clayton, for becoming a member. Team Alaska, thank you for becoming a member. Again, Bandy Bear, thank you. Samantha Winchester, thank you. Janet T. Christy L. Became a member. Thank you so much. Lorraine Dovey, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate everybody that gives us a chance, and really do appreciate everybody that makes it to every show, that shares it out with their friends and family members. It's the only way we can get out. So really do appreciate all of that. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And make sure to go check out our short over on Marfoogle News. The world just went sideways is the thumbnail. All you'll have to do is go over to our website and take a look at that. You'll see that we have a full bibliography for not only that show, but for tonight's show. It's all at your fingertips. Every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is there. We do put the footnotes for every show so that you know exactly where we got it from. Again, not too many channels do that for every single show, every day. We are running a live show. Anything can happen. I have a family of my own, so again, I appreciate your patience, especially with time frames. But again, if you guys go over, we do make sure to back it up with at least where we got it so you know where that's from. Thank the mods, especially Ilea. I hope that I see a bunch of comments. I'm going to be looking at the comments tonight. I want to see happy birthdays for Ilea and anyone else that said that they were coinciding with tonight's birthday. Thank you. Thank you, Callie. Thank you, Electro, Carlton. Again, Clayton, it looks like you are top supporter tonight, so thank you. And then Sweatinum Ministries is top supporter this week. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting our little channel. And thank you for getting us out to other people. Also, go check out Bug Out. This is totally on the side. Somebody asked, what is a good solar generator? Energy, which is a solar generator, we would still be selling as well, but they took a pause because they were catching up with orders. And then Grid Down XP, very connected as well, because this is actually coming with an EMP Shield in it. So go check out Bug Out XP if you can. All of the affiliate information is over on the website. When you go support those, again, you're supporting us. So thank you. Love you guys. Love you, Dex. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Where I say thank you to the people that matter most. If you're in the chat, you'll be ported over automatically over to Marfoogle Jams.